All right, joining us now here on In the Circle at D1 Softball, powered by 643. It's our annual get together with, of course, a man who has done it all. Is in 21st season as Florida head coach. He's been to 13 College World Series, leading the Gators to the two national titles. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the NFCA 2024. Was just recently named to the D1 Softball All Quarter Century Best Top 25 Head Coaches of this century. I speak of Tim Walton for annual get together. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. I hadn't heard that one before, Eric. That's pretty cool. 21. I think I started coaching before you were even born, buddy.
Ooh, that could be close. It could be close. I won't comment. I'll take the fifth on that a little bit. But yes, you were named on the D1 softball quarter century list. There's 7 active SEC coaches on that list. You're one of them. You have also 6 players on your D1 softball player greatest players list. I mean, that's not a bad deal there. It helps.
Well, we all know, all the coaches know, without the players, you're not a very good coach. So it's got to have some good ones to be good and compete at a high level. And we've been fortunate. We've had some really good people come through our program for sure.
No doubt, and you're among the great coaches in this quarter century there. How has the sport changed now to when you first got into coaching?
Well, so much of coaching is obviously about the people and player development and relationship development and confidence development. And so that hasn't changed. I mean, I think what's changed is just the ability to um, the ability to master your craft or over evaluate your craft or really micromanage all the things that you're not good at with the video, and then just other people's opinions at times. You get now with social media, which I love social media. I think it's good for growth, and it's good for entertainment. It's also good for educational pieces. So I think there's so much education out there now that it's easy to potentially overanalyze just even one skill like hitting or throwing or running, things like that. I think that's the biggest change, is just the magnification of coaching. Just and coaching is also playing. When you coach the players, then the players are on videos and people just have their opinion about things. So I love the hype. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's what I love about social media. I love the education piece, being able to make more people aware of so many good young people that play this game that maybe wouldn't have been exposed to the level they are now. They wouldn't have been exposed 20 years ago. And now you've got people at all levels who love watching college softball and college softball players.
No question about that. I really enjoyed. I saw footage that you did the 10-year anniversary of the 2015 team that won the national championship. You had a lot of the players from that team back, some of the staff people back. What was that like to celebrate that 10-year anniversary of that second national title?
Yeah, it was awesome, to see some of the players I got to see last year. So from the 14 team, but then you got to see some new players from the 15 team, which was really cool to see. Some really special young people, that contributed at a high level, on that team. So that was fun. Kenny Gajewski, one of my good friends, came back, which was great. And we invited everybody back, all the staff, all the players. And then we tried to coincide that with Lauren Hager's induction into the University of Florida Athletics Hall of Fame. And I thought that was really cool to be able to have her teammates in the audience to cheer her on as she was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's pretty good. That's a good one to have. She is a one of a kind there, and was one of the greats of all time. That I'm glad that kind of worked out. What made Lauren Hager so special? She was also, I mentioned, she's one of the 6 players on this list, helped you win those national titles. But when you think of Lauren Hager, what do you want to tell people about Lauren Hager that maybe some people missed out when they didn't see her play?
First time I saw Lauren Hager warm up at 16 under nationals in Owensboro, Kentucky. To be honest, I can tell you where I was at. I went over there, I watched her warm up, and I went, holy smokes. She's throwing absolute gas warming up. And at that time, it was 40 feet. So a little bit closer than it is, now at 43 feet. And I went, my gosh. So I stuck around. I went and watched the game, and she's batting third. I'm like, holy smokes. If Lauren Hager was a baseball player, she'd have been the first pick in the draft. Um, because she's a 1-1. I mean, she can hit with power, she can pitch. She's way more athletic than anybody ever would have known about her. She can move, she can do some things with her body. And then when she wasn't pitching, she was playing first base. But played volleyball, played basketball in high school at a private school, but an amazing, amazing, player. But the thing that I would tell everybody the most off the field, outside of the dugout, that's where Lauren Hager made her money, and that's where Lauren Hager made, her friendships because she was a really, really, really good person and funny and life of the party and just somebody you wanted to be around. She was a glue gal with good energy all the time, and obviously her career was great. And excited for Lauren's. I'm really excited for people to celebrate a player like Lauren Hager because they don't come around like Lauren Hager very often at all.
She gets celebrated even more, I would argue, with her accomplishments. The ultimate compliment of hers, I can tell you, when we did the D1 softball quarter century list of greatest players, and we put them by categories, we were arguing whether should Lauren Hager be among the 25 best pitchers of all time, she should be the 25 best hitters of all time, or we settled on, all right, let's just settle for top 25 two-way players. That's how tough she was, because she do everything.
Yeah. And I think in fairness, we always compare, players to players, and that's your job to do. I don't know that you can really compare her to many. I mean, she's just so different. And thankfully, you know, her senior year, and especially that last 6 weeks of her senior season, man, oh man, you want to talk about the old Michael Jordan get in the zone type mentality. She got in the zone. I think she only gave up like one or two
Yeah,
runs, the last few weeks of the season for us, and we're playing at the highest level against the highest competition, and I'll be honest, that was my vision when I first saw Lauren Hager throw. I was like, man, this is 70 miles an hour, 250-foot power at the plate. I really did expect Lauren to be a two-way player her entire career, and she proved us right at the end. But thankfully for me, she really trusted our coaching staff, and she really trusted the way and figured out how to be really one of the best ones.
no doubt. Is she the closest player you've had that could control a game on all sides, offense, pitching? Is she the closest you've had as far as a player that could really win the game on both sides?
Yeah, I mean, it's her last year. Yeah,
Yeah,
more, the other years, it's funny. Her freshman year, she had a good year. Her sophomore year, she had a good year. Junior year, a good year. Senior year, one of the years we started the season, it might have been 14. That's probably one of the better one of the better staffs I think I've ever seen. With four-time All-American Hannah Rogers and Delaney Gorley, two-time All-American, and Lauren Hager, two-time All-American. We started the season, and all three pitchers I think were all like 10-0, 10-0, 10-1, and they all had the exact same amount of innings. And that was probably the best job we did as a staff getting ready for SEC play by being completely prepared. All our pitchers had the same amount of stuff in regards to the innings and the bulk of the weight of our big games. So, but we jumped on Lauren's back at the end of her career, and man, oh man, oh man, that was a fun ride. And I got to see all the video clips and all the cool stuff this last year celebrating 10 years of that championship. But again, just Lauren Hager herself, the growth of her as a human being and the maturity and just the ability to rise to the top in the big games. Man, she had it.
no doubt. No doubt. And I'm glad that she's in the Hall of Fame where she deserves over there in Florida. Let's talk about a little bit about your group here. Before we get into this year's team, I want to reflect on last year because you got back to the World Series with a lot of adversity in the circle. I mean, you missed Keegan Rothrock for the start of the SEC play. I remember Oxley was still kind of trying to figure herself out. When you reflect on last season, what comes to your mind when what you could accomplish considering some of the adverse situations you had there with the injuries?
Well, first thing I reflect on is we went 0-2 at the World Series, which just drove me absolutely crazy for a long period of time. But when you do look back at all the things. And Lauren, Caitlin Oxley didn't pitch until March. Keegan Rothrock missed, Texas A&M, Texas, Arkansas. I mean, she missed like three of the top five teams in the country series last year. So yeah, I think the biggest key, there is that Ava Brown, really stepped up, and then Caitlin Oxley really stepped up, and then Keegan Rothrock comes back, and maybe wasn't the same Keegan Rothrock as she was in sometimes the year before, but in other cases she was better. She got better and did a good job, and I think that the team really embraced, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. We finished strong. We competed well. And down the stretch, we got better. The Oklahoma series, that took a lot out of us, to be honest with you. That Oklahoma series was an absolute grind. And obviously they had a great team and, and a tremendous streak going on in their, winning series and stuff like that. So it was good. I mean, but we had some other cool things, kind of pop up. Taylor Shumaker, what a great season. Kendra Falby, what a great season and a great career. Reagan Walsh, great season, great career. Corby Otis, Riley Holtorf came in, played for a year. But there were so many cool things that to me that I reflect on that, the 0-2 as a coach and a competitor, nobody wants to go 0-2 at the World Series. But, again, we got there. And there's so many teams that they wouldn't want to go 0-2 at the World Series, but they want to get to the World Series and taste that. And I think that every time we get to the World Series, it extends the life of our program 4 years. And I know most people probably don't understand what that means, but when you bring a freshman to the College World Series, that lasts for 3 more seasons after that. So it's a 4 year plus your recruits coming in. So we extended the life of our program for 4 years to understand what the College World Series and what championship level experience is like. You can't do that by the coach. You can't do that by lip service. You got to do it through experience. And I think that's where I'm really proud of our team for overcoming a lot of stuff, going out there and competing. And, again, they all went to the World Series, and that's something they're never going to forget, especially 10 years from now. Nobody's going to remember 0-2. Well, I will, but nobody's going to remember 0-2. They're going to remember the fact that they went to the College World Series, 2 and 3 times in their career, maybe the 2 times in their career, and they were only here 2 years. So pretty cool experience nonetheless.
Oh, right. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think the World Series you were at before you won the national titles, I think you might have gone 0-2 or 1-2, something like that. I mean, but
We've never gone 0-2 at the World Series until last year, Eric. So let's get that right. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, but
you're right. You're right. We did. We went 1-2, I think, in 2013. We went 1-2 in 2010, but we hadn't gone 0-2. Even in 08, we lost the first one and then won. But yeah, no, you're right. It isn't necessary for that team. The book's closed. Oh, here's one story I'll tell you that makes me proud. After we lose at the World Series, come out, you do your press conference, do your stuff. We were there almost another hour post game. The girls are signing autographs, taking pictures. There's so many young Gator fans and young Gator fans, older Gator fans. They were there to see their favorite players, there to see Reagan Walsh, there to see Kendra Falby, there to take a picture with Kara Hammock, there to take a picture with Riley Holtorf, players that are never going to wear, the Gator uniform again. And so that part I'm proud of. Our players, even though we lost, they still understand their role as a role model and what it's going to mean. We were mad, but there was no poor sports. It was all about, hey, you know what? We didn't play our best, but that's not the fans' fault. Let's celebrate the fans who came and made the trip to Oklahoma City. And so they were there. We were there for, like I said, it was an hour at least post game, taking pictures, signing autographs, and again celebrating the careers of some really good Gator players.
Some great players there, Bobby, Kendra Falby and Hammock now on your staff. What's that like having them still around and helping you now and being on the coaching side here, helping us GAs?
Yeah, so we it's funny because in the way our sport goes, and all the sports, with the exception of a couple, don't have graduate assistants where players actually get a chance to coach and learn how to coach and see if this is what they want to do. So Kendra approached me with an idea, and I said, sure, that's great. You got great energy, you got great things to add. If I add her as a manager, I don't think she can add the same thing she could as a coach. So we were able to, with the way the NCAA works, both of them earned their degrees. And so now Kendra's working on a certificate, Kara's working on a master's degree. And because they're still in that fifth year window, they can be student coaches. And so it was a great opportunity for us to have those two here. Not only are they helping us, Kendra's throwing front toss and hitting fungos and shagging balls out and putting stuff out for practice. Kara's throwing batting practice and catching in for the pitchers. But we're also helping them, learn how to coach, learn how to manage, and it's not just competing, it's just learning how to do the next things that they want to do. And whether they want to coach or not, they're still learning, and they've got a new batch of players in here that they're able to impact in a positive way.
That's going to be tremendous. Now, you're going to be asked between now and opening day about Kendra Falby and her in the outfield replacing her. You don't replace her. You don't replace a two-time Gold Glove Award winner, the best outfielder in the sport for the last couple of years. But it's good to have her around to help. But what does that mean for the outfield this year? Who has the opportunity to step into those shoes? I know Taylor Shumaker said she learned a lot from Kendra playing with her. I would imagine she's a part of the answer on the solution there. But what is the outfield outlook there from a defensive standpoint and obviously in the everyday, production standpoint?
Yeah, so one of those pieces of adversity last year, Townsend Thomas had a little bit of a hand injury. She came in with a little bit of a knee injury, and so we made a decision, in College Station, that Townsend was going to redshirt last year. She was available after let's call it March 1st range. March 7th is probably more realistic, but she was available last year, and we could have played her. And we sat down and kind of just talked. And Townsend's super young. She started college at 17 and hadn't played a full year of softball in her whole entire life because of playing other sports and being an athlete. So Townsend Thomas, Taylor Shumaker, and Cassidy McClellan, will have the daunting task of replacing three All-Americans. I'll count Taylor Shumaker as an All-American because she's this year's her sophomore year. So you're replacing her with hopefully a better version. We're replacing two-time, Gold Glove winner and All-American Kendra Falby, and you're replacing, another All-American and a really, really hard worker and a professional. When you look at Corby Otis, and so tough. So I don't think you really replace those three guys. I think you just figure out how to be the best version. But Townsend's done a great job so far. I mean, she's got a lot of work to go. She's still a freshman, but she's done a good job, and she's not Kendra. She's shown flashes of things. I'd equate her more like a Michelle Moultrie right now. What I mean by that, we would love to say it, but when Michelle started, it took her a little bit of time to become Michelle Moultrie. She learned how to gain confidence and leadership skills. She had zero work ethic issues. Michelle worked her tail off. She learned how to be a great player, an Olympian, and a Gator great, and a Hall of Famer, and all the above. So. I'm not comparing Townsend to Michelle. I think there's just a lot of similarities in where they're at now to where we think they can go in the future. Townsend, the sky's the limit for Townsend. Taylor's obviously a great leader and the length that she has. So we're going to start with Townsend in center, Taylor in right, and Cassidy in left for now. I think that's what we've been practicing to be. Whether or not it adjusts and Townsend goes to right and Taylor goes to center. Right now, we're going to start the season the other way.
Of course, Townsend's been a part of the under-18 U.S. softball team as recently as 2024, having played in those big international games like she has. Does that help her in this transition, even though maybe, to make up for maybe some of the, quote, lack of experience on the collegiate level because she's played in a big stage already?
Yeah, I would think, when you look at we kind of go backwards. So go Jocelyn Erickson. Jocelyn Erickson won an Alliance championship with the Bat Busters. Was the Alliance really much their player of the tournament? They don't have an MVP there, but she was number one of one. And then the next year she had a good summer and a really good tournament, but she got beaten out. Taylor Shumaker took over and took that part, and Townsend Thomas was that 2 summers ago. So she won that Alliance, tournament. She was basically the MVP of sorts. And so long story short, we think so. We think she's got the makings to be another Gator great. But she's got to stay healthy. She's got to learn when to take chances, when to dive, when to jump, when to lead. Just trying to get her and Taylor to understand. Like, so for me, we've always given our center fielder the reins. Like, hey, you got everything. Go do it, Kendra. Go catch everything. Well, with that being said, Taylor Shumaker is also a center fielder. Like, she's played center field her whole life. She's got a lot of range. She's left-handed. And so being left-handed, she's better towards center than she is maybe towards the right field line. And so telling Townsend, hey, if Taylor Shoemaker's in right field, she can catch most of it. Just you stay in center and you cover a lot of left. And then Taylor's got all the right field line and she's going to cover the right field gap. Now, if Ella Wezalowski's playing right field because she plays that, then Townsend, you go get everything because she's a catcher, a hitter, and she does a good job in the outfield, but she's not Taylor Shumaker. And to getting them to understand that, trust each other, and really work towards that relationship. The relationship being like, hey, I'm playing over here in the gap. You're playing over in the gap. So that means you're going to have more balls to go after. You're going to dive. I can back you up. I'm going to dive. You can back me up. I can take a chance because I know Taylor Shoemaker is going to be behind me if I need her. Taylor can take a chance because she knows Townsend Thomas is going to be behind her. So those are the kind of things that we just don't have right now because it takes time. That takes time for Kendra Falby to trust Corby Otis. That takes time, for it just takes time. And so we'll get there. We've been working really hard all fall and now. But once you play the real games and you start losing the ability to hear other people because the crowds get loud and the excitement gets high. So that's what we're working on the most, Eric, to be honest.
That's tremendous. Of course, it's good pieces to have. And of course, Taylor Shoemaker, you mentioned, coming off winning the National Freshman of the Year award, won any award that was given out to a freshman. She won it, put up historical offensive numbers. I got a chance to chat with her, and I told you off the air, I was super impressed with her about her competitiveness. She mentioned it. That 0-2 that you talked about is in her head. Like that, she thinks about that as motivation for this year to getting back as a team. But just talk about her growth as she kind of, in her freshman year. You mentioned it last year. She has one of the best swings you've ever seen. And boy, we all got to see it up close. What's it been like for her this fall entering her sophomore year?
I always say that your freshman year is going to be the most difficult year. And so for her, it might be her sophomore year might be the most difficult year because you, me, her, everybody's going to say, compare it to last year. Well, at this time last year, she had this, this, and this. And so it's not fair. It's just, unfortunately for her, she came out with a bang, had one of the best freshman seasons, especially in the modern era, of anybody ever. And so she's always going to be compared to that. But that's who she is. She is that. What you saw last year was not a flash in the pan. That's her. Like, who can hit a ball? Who can throw a pitch outside and you hit it over the left field fence as a left-hander? And then you say, oh, you know what? Well, I hear all the TV stuff. Oh, she doesn't like the inside pitch. Then you throw her inside, boom, she turns on it, hits it over the light tower. So, let's throw her changeups, and then she's off on the front foot and she hits it off the top of the wall. Like, she's just got the ability to control the barrel better than really anybody I've ever seen to all fields. I've never seen that. I've seen people that can hit the ball to left, people hitting the ball to right, but not to be able to spray line to line like that. She's impressive. Her length gives her that ability to do that. She's dynamic in the batter's box. She's very limber, very flexible, just the way she can move. But always said the freshman year is going to be the hardest year. And there was some hard parts of last year for her. And so we just thankfully, a bad day for Taylor, last year was, 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer and, one of those. So that was good. But for her, it was like, gosh, she didn't enjoy getting out the other, 2 times. But one thing that I can tell you that really impressed me was at the end of the season, we come into we do our end of season meetings, have a conversation. She goes, hey, I want to do a better job at this. I'm not going to tell you what this is just because just in privacy for her.
Sure.
And I was so impressed with her ability to realistically grab the bull by the horn and say, hey, I want to get better at this. And I go, hey, the fact that you want to get better at that, you're already better at that. And so I'll help cultivate that. We'll help do a good job of that and just really kind of, pathway to hopefully accomplishing what she wants to accomplish as a teammate, as a player in the locker room, as one of the 18 players. So she's a leader. We have two captains. We had voted captains. Jocelyn Erickson and Ava Brown were our voted captains. Two different players, but everybody looks at Taylor Shumaker. Everybody looks at how she practices, super hard. Everybody looks at how she swings, tough at bats. So she's still a thermometer. I'll call her a thermometer. She's still going to control the temperature of the team all the time, and I think she does a really good job. But she's 19 years old. She's still a young kid, and so she's got a lot of time to get better. I'm just happy that she is very mature. She does a really good job of self-reflecting. She leans on her coaches in a way that the great ones do. She knows she doesn't have to do this by herself. If she doesn't like something, all she has to do is communicate. If we don't like something, we all have to do is communicate, and she's very responsive. And so I'm proud of the season she had, but I'm proud of the young woman she is, and just her ability to hopefully try to continue to get better and better and better as a person, as a teammate, as a leader. And then as a player, that's what you and I get to watch every day, is just that kid running around playing ball. Man, she's a baller.
No, one of the many things she impressed me talking to her, she admitted it. She's a kind of a perfectionist, and that she actually has trouble watching film by herself. That she likes having a Coach Thomas or Coach Anea or you watching film with her, because she'll rip herself apart, which is so fascinating. As a coaching staff, how do you coach a player to, on the one hand, get the most out of them that it's in them, but at the same time, make sure they keep that confidence high? Because, as you know as well as anybody, this sport, it's more failures than not. How do you balance that out as a coach?
Well, I think Francesca and I are very similar. We're both driven the same way. We're both perfectionists. We won 6-1, and we want 6-0.
Yes.
So that's a drive. So I would say sometimes drive and perfectionism aren't always the same thing. I think she has a high drive, but she can pick apart her stuff. But we figured it out. Like when we started SEC play last year, and when you get SEC play, you got all this film and data and all the information. And you know what? It didn't work for her. And we figured it, we figured it out really quickly. I mean, not by really, really quickly. At least we didn't figure it out at the end of the season. We figured it out 2 and 3 series in. And it really helped that she was honest. Like, she's like, man, I'm guessing. I'm up here guessing. Now, I go back and look at the film and said, everybody says, oh, she struggled against this team, struggled against this team. Yeah, both of those teams are, ranked in the top 5. Both of those teams have first team All-American pitchers, and both of those teams did not miss their spots. So there's that. Because if you throw the ball over the plate, it's going over the fence. That's just how it's going to be with her. And so that was one of those things that I think she really did a good job of communicating. Hey, I'm guessing. Like, I know this girl throws this pitch, but I'm looking for this pitch because that's the pitches I've been watching on film. And we just cleaned up the approach, cleaned up the preparation, and see ball, hit ball. But we prepared for her in practice to do the other things. And I think she really did a good job of being honest, because I don't know. I can tell you what I see, and that doesn't look like Taylor Shumaker, but I don't know why, unless she's able to clearly communicate and say, listen,
Sure.
when I'm in the box, this is what I was doing, thinking. And so we figured it out, and started journaling a little bit more, started communicating a little bit better, and then things cleaned up, confidence rose, pitch selection changed. It was definitely, very mature young person.
She was meant to be a Florida Gator. Like, you were meant to coach her, and I think specifically Francesca was meant to coach her, because I really was blown away how similar they are. Because you bring up Francesca, it reminded me. I broadcasted 3 seasons with her, and there'd be times where she's like, I don't know, was I good in that? I'm like, you were great. What are you talking about? Everybody loves you. Like, but that's the drive, like you mentioned. That's a better word. It's a drive there that they all have.
Yeah, I take that as a compliment, Eric, because again, yes, I'm the head coach of the Florida Gators, and I've been the head coach of the Florida Gators for a long time. But Francesca Anea, Amanda Lorenz, Kelsey Stewart, Aubrey Monroe, Kirsty Merritt, Lauren Hager, Hannah Rogers, all those players that you could easily say they were meant to be Florida Gators. And the compliment that you just paid there about Taylor Shumaker, why were they meant to be Florida Gators, and what does that actually mean? And I'll say this: they could be who they are and grow and mature and develop right under everybody's eyes because we're here to help facilitate them get what they want. But they're the driving force to what they want. And those guys brought it every single day. They brought it and they still bring it. Francesca's bringing it for me every day. And so when you say they're meant to be a Florida Gator, not everybody is because they just don't have that drive or they don't want to be. They think they want to be great. Those guys want to be great. And when you want to be great, I've got an amazing staff. Whether it's a manager, whether it's our academic coordinator, whether it's our communications director and Lauren, whether it's my ops person and Brittany Souliard and KK Letty and Caitlin Towers, our trainer, Paul Chandler, our strength coach. We are here to help those guys achieve their goals on and off the field. And I know for a fact not everybody has those type of goals, and not every staff can do it because they just don't have that type of staff. My staff wants to be here. My players want to be here. They want to work their butts off. So when you say Taylor was meant to be a Florida Gator, I thank God every day that she is a Florida Gator. And Jocelyn Erickson and Corby Otis before her and Kendra Falby and Reagan Walsh and Ava Brown and Keegan Rothrock, because they all want to be here and they all want to work their tails off. And we're here just to help them, man. I don't micromanage my players. I tell them, you tell me what you need, you're going to get it and then some. If you need help off the field, you call me anytime. I'll be there. I'll show up. But I'm not going to micromanage you. I want you to grow up and be the person you want to be, the player you want to be.
No doubt. She's fun to watch, too. It's an awesome person there, without question. Let's move to the infield a little bit. You added Kendall Grover, a two-time OVC Player of the Year. Had to tremendous.
We got to be quiet. Don't keep talking too loud there, Eric.
She's pretty good. I was like, oh, he snuck that one in there. Talk about your infield. How does it look? Because I know you got some moving pieces there.
We got a lot of moving pieces, and again, I don't have a huge roster. We have 18 players on the team. One's going to redshirt, so I have 17 players available. So with that being said, I've got a bunch of Swiss Army knives. I got a bunch of players that can do a lot of things. Kenley Cahalan's going to play shortstop and third. Kendall Grover is going to play third base and DP. Madison Walker is going to play first base, right field, second base, DP. I'm looking at Ava Brown to play first base a lot more and pitch. Jocelyn Erickson's going to play first base and catch. Ella Wesolowski is going to play catcher, DP, and right field. Julia Desiderio can catch and play second. And then you go to Gabby Camilla. She's going to play short and second. Callie Matsuno plays second. You just go through those kind of players and you kind of go, oh, wow, it's not a million, but they can all do a lot. And so we got to stay healthy. That's going to be the absolute key. I was listening to some of our players. We did a little preseason kind of not to give you too much stuff, but I had some players come on, some Gator greats come on and Zoom in with our players and just talk to them about their experiences, things they liked, things they learned, things they needed to get better at, things they took for granted. It was really, really good. And two of our players said, we went to the World Series with 16 players. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're back. 16 strong, baby. So, we're at 17 players, 18 counting Caroline Stanton, who'd enrolled early. And so they can all do a lot. But the infield right now, if we played today, Kendall will be at third, Kenley will be at short, Gabby's at second, and Ava's at first. And then Ava pitches. You can go with Madison Walker, Jocelyn Erickson. Ella goes behind the plate. So there's a lot of options that we have. I have at least one or two players that maybe they're not used to not batting in a game because Ava Brown would bat, and then maybe they would be the flex. But I don't really have a quote-unquote defensive only type player to where it's traditionally you go,
right.
Hey, so-and-so is playing that position, and they're not batting in the lineup, the flex type stuff. So we got some options. We took yesterday was our first day of live at bats. Today will be our second. Tomorrow will be our first scrimmage. So we got a lot of work to do, but I'm really, really particular about, working backwards from the first game so we can try to maintain and maximize the players' bodies, get them in shape, really work hard on arm health and, get their arms strong and do the things necessary. So we're not going to try to cut any corners, try to build that foundation correctly.
Ava Brown, I feel, is one of the more underappreciated players, at least from the outside. Looking, I know you appreciate her inside, but from the outside, I don't feel she gets the appreciation that she should get compared to, and I understand there's a lot of talented players, but what she does for your team in the circle, offensively, plays first base. Like you mentioned it earlier, with Rothrock went down, she stepped up her game. She led the SEC in saves. Speak of her value to your team because when you talk about the versatility, she defines that, and I don't think she gets enough credit nationally.
Yeah. So, she had a private conversation with me. She said, when Keegan went down, why didn't you throw me on Friday night? And I said, Ava, you have won almost every single Saturday game in your career. I said, here's my thought process. And Caitlin Hoxie did awesome. She went toe to toe with the best. My thought was this. If we win Friday, we win the series on Saturday. If we lose Friday, we win the game on Saturday. We got a chance to win the series on Sunday. If I throw you on Friday and we lose, now we have a chance to lose the series. Like I felt so prepared and so accomplished with you there. And that's my fault. I should have talked to her before that. I just, as coaches, I don't want to say we assume, but the assumption's the worst thing to have as a coach. Just communicate. I should have just communicated with her and said, "Hey, here's my thought." And then now I probably would have got even a better version of Ava Brown in the circle, knowing that I had that kind of confidence in her. But she does. I mean, she hits. She hits good pitching. I think she led our team in home runs in SEC play 2 years ago as a freshman. She had some of the most home runs as a freshman that year. But she's been really good. I mean, you talked about Lauren Hager early in the equation. I mean, she's 5 miles an hour and 4 inches away from Lauren Hager, but she's as close to that type. I mean, she asked me what I thought of her this year. I said, "You're going to play more first base this year." Reagan had to play first base. That was her spot. We had to go there. And now we got an opportunity for you to play more first base. She's managing her body. She's managing how long it takes her to warm up and do those things. And then last year, just being able to find the moments, come in relief, shut it down. Again, she went toe to toe against Oklahoma at the end and did a really good job. And so thankful for just having the ability that she has to wear so many hats and wear them well. And I wish you could see the comments that our players said about voting for her as a team captain, just what she meant to each one of them individually. So that tells you a lot. Ava Brown and Taylor Shumaker were the two at the end of last season that talked about some things that they really wanted to improve on for this season, and I'm thankful that they've followed through on that because again, you can fool the coaches, but you can't fool your teammates, and her teammates are not fooled. Ava got a tremendous amount of compliments of how she comes to work every single day.
And the players know game. They know game, so they know how valuable she is to your team, and she'll be a big part of this pitching staff. How is the pitching staff looking? I'm curious about Oxley and her development as she, in her second year. And you got Keegan back here. You pretty much have the pitching staff back. How do you feel about the pitching staff here going into the start of the season?
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of live at bats still, so I don't know where they're at. I know where they're at in November. And I don't know where they're at, here in January. And okay, who cares where they're at in January? Where are they at in February, March, April, May, and June? That's where it matters. But I thought Keegan had a good fall. There were some spots where she was, really electric again and coming into her craft. Steph's helped, second year of Stephanie, Stephanie Prothrow, Stephanie Van Brakel. But second year is a lot easier than the first year, again, from a management standpoint, communication, people skills, work ethic, verbal stuff. Just you can really tell it's a lot better on everybody. Not I say everybody. They loved her last year, but it's a lot easier on Stephanie this year to get to know the people and what buttons she can push, when, and where. So that part's been good. But Caitlin Oxley's is from everything I hear has come back from Christmas break better than she left, which is great. Keegan's always going to be banged up. Unfortunately, just with her body. She's always going to be banged up a little bit. So she's just learning how to manage that. I think, the first time you ever get injured, and I think I remember this as that first time you ever get injured, it's the most, oh my gosh, it's the most devastating thing ever. And then when you realize that, I'm not out, I'm going to be always going to feel like this. I might have a dull pain or this. Oh, so it's not a season ending injury. It's just a bump. It's just a bruise. It's just a, muscle pain, whatever it is. She's learned how to deal with that. Her first injury that she had in high school was major, major. Now she's just learning what her body's never going to be 100%. How about that? And I think that's the hardest part for younger people to understand is that you can still win when you're not 100%, and you can still pitch well, and you can still be healthy, even when your body's not 100%. And I think that's what she's learning how to deal with. And then we didn't get much of Leah Stevens this fall. She had a really, really, really good summer on her travel team. We'll call her a diamond in the rough because nobody really knew of Leah Stevens. Followed her around. We watched her for a little bit. Signed her late last February or late January, February. But she's been good. Jocelyn Erickson caught her the other day for the first time, and she goes, "Oh, now I know why I swung and missed 3 times off of her last time I faced her." So Leah's got some funny stuff, man. It's crazy. So, and then I heard our strength coach talking the other day um, about Olivia Miller, and it was a really cool story. But nobody wants to get yelled at 6 o'clock in the morning by their strength coach, but we all get yelled at by the strength coach at 6 o'clock in the morning. So, I listened to the last year and a half, 2 years, probably more a year and a half, just listening to him get on to Olivia Miller and get on to our players. You got more, you got more, you got to get better, you got to do that. He gave her the biggest compliment the other day and said, Olivia Miller, what you've done here, how you've transformed your mentality and what you're doing in these runs and your conditioning. I couldn't be more proud of Olivia just taking that bull by the horns and knowing she's got more and she's done it. So it's showing up in the circle. I told her last year, I said, man, we wouldn't be where we are without you. You came in, bases loaded against Texas. You get a ground ball double play. You do this. I said, I want to bring you in 1-0, up 1-0 in the seventh inning and have you come out and close it out. And here's what you got to be able to do that. And so she's really embraced, she's one of the best teammates you'll ever have in the dugout, in the pitching bullpen, in the locker room. She's a great kid who wants it. I mean, she's driven now. She wants it. She's got a little grind in her. She's got a little grit in her teeth. And she's just learning how to get her pitches to do what she wants her pitches to do when she wants them to do it. And it takes time, but thankful for what she's shown us too. So, and then Ava, obviously, she looked good. She actually threw live yesterday. She looked good. Then Allison Sparkman transferred from Florida Gulf Coast, coming into her own. She's still got a little ways to go still, developing her slower pitches and her drop ball and getting it to be sharp. But if she keeps the ball in the dirt, we got a defense behind her that's going to play for her. So that's what we're really working towards, is just understanding Keegan Rothrock's different than Sparkman, is different than Stevens, different than different than Oxley, different than Brown, different than Miller. If they can all embrace that they're different, we're going to be really good, because it's going to be harder to prepare for us when you have different people, different pitchers.
Helps though, and I'm sure all the pitchers appreciate when you have a Jocelyn Erickson catching him, a two-time Gold Glove Award winner. That's a good confidence booster, I would imagine, for all the pitchers there.
I won't lie to you, and Ella's done a great job coming in. And when I recruited Ella, talking to her about, hey, Jocelyn can't do it by herself. I don't want her to do it by herself. I need you. I want you. You're the catcher I want. They really embraced the leader. Watching them, her and Julia, Ella and Julia and Jocelyn working. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you ever replace a Jocelyn Erickson. I've never seen anybody like this in my entire life behind the plate, behind the plate, in the box. Aubrey Monroe had probably the best feedback of any catcher I've ever had, to say, hey, pitchers, here's what you're doing. You're doing this. You're doing this. Christina Hilberth was amazing, getting Stacey Nelson to the level she was at. Janelle Wheaton was amazing, getting Kelly Barnhill to the level she was at. But catch, throw, hit, lead, grit, fight. Jocelyn Erickson, man. I hope she gets a chance at the Olympics, because I've done this a long time in a lot of different countries, with a lot of different players. I've never seen one as good as Jocelyn behind the plate and at first base and in the box. She's definitely different, the most different I've ever seen. And I hope the Olympic Committee hears that, because I know she wants it, and I know she is good enough to do it. Hopefully she fits into the plan. Hopefully she's a good enough teammate. Hopefully she's all the things necessary to help USA win a gold. But if I got to choose a catcher and I had a choice, that's she's the first one I'm looking at, no question asked.
I'll co-sign that. I was impressed ever since I saw her up close in person a couple years ago in fall ball. And I'm like, whoa, just stands
Different,
out. Very
different.
different.
I joke with our runners when we're practicing running. I said, Jocelyn just picked you off. Jocelyn just picked you off. Jocelyn just picked you off. I used to say Aubrey just picked you off. Now I say Jocelyn just picked you off. Jocelyn just picked you off. She's unique, that's for sure.
Aubrey Monroe Olympian. Put the exclamation on your point on that. But the good news is, you can move her if you want to because of the roster not being as big. You probably will have the luxury though of having capable with Ella right behind her. You got Julia there, so you do have versatility and options there where you can move Jocelyn, maybe give her a quote unquote unofficial day off maybe and play her at first or DP.
The best pop times yesterday from home to second was Julia Desiderio. So she's in the 1.6s now. All of them had really good throw days. Yeah, yesterday was our first throw day for the catcher, so we were excited. But Julia, man, she was money over the base. Well, way I described her was I felt like she was a better athlete than catcher. Like she just looked like an athlete. She ran around the back. She had a little bit of a different slot when she threw. The ball had a little bit of slide action when she was sink action for the shortstop. She's really cleaned up some things. I think having Jocelyn, having Ella, and having the daily routine that she has, she's really improved, really, really improved. But Ella, you want to talk about somebody who loves to catch. Like I just imagine, Ella 10 years from now still having, when she's talking, you're going to see her still wearing shin guards. Like she's going to be that one that, she's going to be working with kids the rest of her life. Like that girl, she's a softball grinder. She just loves ball. She loves to catch. She loves to throw. She's been fun. That's the one thing about being a coach that I love is that the personalities that you get from all over the country, they just make going to work fun because you got so many people keeping you young, keeping you on your toes. Yesterday I had a diet drink in my hand. I think she tried to take it out of my hand and steal it from me. Like
Oh,
I'm like, whoa, that's pretty bold. And she goes, hey, I tried to steal your drink. I said, oh, I felt you, but that's the cool part. Like I want players to have personality. I want players to be respectful and work hard, but also know, hey, we're here to have a little fun too. And we pick the right moments, we can have a lot of fun.
no doubt, no doubt. Want to ask you about your youngsters. Like you mentioned, Caroline Stanton. She's already, getting her early. You're going to be redshirting and developing her. You obviously mentioned Leah Stevens among one of the two freshmen also on the roster. Just talk about developing them when you have a veteran group, when you have so many returners. In Caroline's case, developing her while she redshirts, and then you have a couple other freshmen that, fighting for playing time. How do you develop from
Yeah.
the staff?
Yeah, definitely. But Townsend obviously falls into that freshman
Yeah,
category
right.
still. Went through the whole year last year, but she's still a freshman. Callie Matsuno, so she's our in the infield. Fun fact about Callie. So Callie grew up in Southern California. She's a Bat Buster kid too. Her family lives in the same neighborhood as my parents, which is the craziest. Like, how does that even
Oh,
happen? But yeah, so in the recruiting process, we found that out with Callie. But no, she's been good. She's been working really hard. Again, a good teammate. She's getting stronger. She's got a good glove. She's a shortstop, so she's playing a lot more second for us right now. Learning how to play that position a little bit better. And she's still got a ways to go. But still had a good fall. Really did a good job. She's learning. She's also with her and Gabby and Kinley and Ava and all the infielders, Madison Walker. They all do a good job. They really push each other really well. But Callie's a great kid, working really, really hard. Fun to be around as well. Yesterday she's diving a little bit on some plays that need to be dove for, and just learning some. I always say I'm not a big dive coach. I don't love dives, but there is a time where dive is the best play, and so just learning when that is, and that's the things that we're trying to teach. But Caroline's unique. Caroline's unique in that. So she goes out, lost in the Alliance Championship, but won the year before, won the state championship this year in Georgia, and I mean had a tremendous, tremendous high school career. So she graduated early in December, already finished up her softball season, and so that's where the family approached me and said, "Hey, we can she enroll early?" And I'm like, and her brother enrolled early as a high school football player, so they already were pretty prepped to that process, and went to she went to Buford, which is a great college prep kind of a high school, and they have a lot of Division I athletes. And so we really just put together a schedule. And so we're going to build her body, get her healthy, get her stronger. She's only throwing 3 times a week right now, just to try to get her acclimated to college and go through the process of getting her body throwing and stuff. So, but she come off of a heavy bulk summer and a heavy bulk fall. So we're just going to inch our way in. I'm hoping by March we can really have her at full speed, and so she can pitch and throw like middle of the week games to get her better. But she's 6 foot tall. She's gonna throw 70 something at some point in time. The sky's the limit. Her future's in front of her. Is her where she came from? She already had a great career, and I think she's only going to get better and better and better. But she's got a good head on her shoulders and has fun. But also, I heard her say she's still young. I heard her say a phrase yesterday, and I go, yeah, she's just 18 years old. I mean, she's a young kid, and they aren't calling her a freshman anymore. They're calling her a fresh mini because she's here
Freshman.
before freshman year. So she's a fresh mini, from what the girls were saying yesterday. But there's nothing mini about Caroline Stanton. She hit a 280-foot home run yesterday in batting practice, and I went, oh my gosh. Yeah, she's fun to have already here. This is really a huge advantage for us to have a kid like her in our program to travel all fall. I mean, sorry, all spring, learn the ways, and still get better in the bullpen. And I think that's going to be awesome.
Fresh mini. That's a new term. I'm going to have to get used to that new term. A couple of things before I let you go. The NCAA committee this year, they announced they're going to seed 32 teams for the tournament versus 16. They're going to do that with baseball as well, following volleyball and soccer. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, we've always taken a lot of pride in our schedule. We've always taken a lot of pride in understanding, that wins are what get you seated. Okay, everybody can talk about all the things they do. Just win. Just win your games, do your thing. It'll all take care of itself. I mean, I think 32 would probably help. Maybe University of Florida versus Washington in 2014 in a super regional. Maybe it wouldn't have been that because the seeding, but who cares? I think it is what it is. I'm not somebody that gets overly caught up in things like that. But I do think that when you can seed 32 teams, I'm sure the consistency, does that help a sport like softball and baseball where it won't necessarily be so regionalized? Because we've been a regionalized sport, but for cost purposes, which makes sense. I mean, so I think the 32 could maybe spread the things out a little bit more, but if that's what we want to do, financially, then it is what it is. But I think you probably have a lot more accurate regional matchups, probably.
Yeah, I'd say it's a wait and see. A lot of coaches are saying wait and see to see how much of a change will it be
Yeah.
on that. Attendance, you're a home attendance. You were once again top 10 total attendance, average attendance, you name it. You were in the top 10. It's been going on now for a decade. The numbers are bigger. The stadium capacity percentage is about 140% last season. For people that don't know what that means, it means is not only are you filling up the stadium, but there's more demand than ever before. Just talk about that because we've talked over the years about the renovations to the stadium. It has been a massive success from the outside, it looks like, and the interest has grown and grown every year.
Eric, man, I don't have an agent, but you just really bullet pointed my agent, man. That was awesome. So, what that tells me is, especially now that you start talking about revenue generation, you talk about rev share, and you start talking about stuff, that tells me that our players are a heck of a lot of fun to watch, and people want to see them. And last year, if we'd have had 2,000 more seats in our stadium, we'd have had 2,000 more fans per game because they were lined up here last year. Obviously, the matchups were favorable to that, but I'll tell you what, I've been so impressed with our fans. And again, not to have any of our opponents to be slighted, but it doesn't matter if it's a Wednesday night game or if it's a Friday night in the SEC. We have people come all the time, and I hear it all the time. Hey, coach, we'd love to get season tickets to the softball games. We can't get them. We've been trying for years. And if I can tell you how many people say that, it's a lot. So When we renovated the stadium, Scott Strickland and I talked about, what my vision was. We wanted to build a stadium with chairbacks, but we didn't want to have like 10,000 seats where you didn't have 6,000 people in them. Um, but if we continue this growth, we're going to have to expand, and I think I mean, that's a no-brainer. If we expanded, like I said, if we put 2,000 more seats in here on SEC weekends for sure, we'd have 2,000 more fans a game. But seats don't just mean seats; they mean bathrooms, they mean
Right.
security, they vendor. There's so many. I learned this in the building process, but there's so many more pieces to that. But as my agent, you did a heck of a job right there. I mean, shoot, I'm excited about what we've built here and what we continue to sustain. I mean that's impressive. Sustaining something like this is super hard because you always see, like you said it earlier, we're comparing ourselves to last year's selves to next year's selves, and so hopefully we can find enjoyment in seeing somebody come to their first Gator game this year and watch us win and meet their favorite player because that's what it's all about. That's what we're trying to do. I love our stadium. I love how it's an intimate place where you can come, you're up close, you're personal, you get to see opponents, you get to see the coach, you get to hear the coach sometimes, and so I think it's a really cool venue. We Jeremy Foley and Scott Strickland did a fantastic job with this footprint of this stadium. It's awesome. It's a great place to come to work.
Somebody's been going to games there since '08. It's different, and that's why I brought up the numbers. Obviously, your team, your players, the success is a big part of that. But people wouldn't be coming back if it wasn't a great venue to watch softball. And I think that the growth in the numbers have backed that up. And I would say, the people talk about the Swamp as a bucket list for a football fan. I think KSP has reached that level as
Love
a
it.
bucket
Well,
list.
and I'll shout out to our marketing team.
Yes.
Here's the thing there is that in November they're talking to me about marketing our games in the spring because they want to get better. They
Yeah.
want to get our fans out of their seats. They want to become more engaging. They want to try to be able to be intimidating without being rude. Because I'm a real big believer on cheering for the Gators, not cheering against the other team. Like I've said that from day one. Like I want to beat them just as bad as anybody that comes in the stands. Anybody, I want to beat them. But I think there's a way to go about it, and I think our fans have embraced that. Like it's a very they'll say some things just like every fans will say some things at times because they don't necessarily like the other team, the team's colors, the mascot, the players, the coach, whatever, the band, the songs. I mean, the list goes on in the SEC. But I think the key there is that our fans come to the stands. You said game respects game. I think our fans respect game. When you bring in some good teams in here, they
Yeah.
respect it. They appreciate good play and they'll cheer for good plays that are being made at times. So I think that's cool. I think it's really good that our fans have really embraced, penciling in, coming to KSP, and our marketing team does a good job. Our operations, like we're always trying not to overlap with lacrosse, not to overlap with football or with baseball across the street, basketball at times. So we are definitely mindful. We're not perfect, but we're mindful of trying to get Gator fans in here to see as many events as they can on a weekend basis.
No, it's first class. It's done a great job. And if you have meetings where you need help from the outside, vouched for you as far as expanding, I'm your guy. Let me know. I'll
Here
be
we
there
go.
for you.
I love it. I love it.
I'll let you go on this. What are you looking forward to as you get to Tampa for the tradition? You start the season. What are you looking forward to finding out about this group?
Yeah, I want to see. I want to see how well they play off of each other, because we've really spent a lot of time the last couple years just not getting caught up in the World Series, not getting caught up in the SEC, not getting caught up in just being able to figure out how can we grind out inning one, inning two, inning three, inning four, at bat one, at bat two, at bat three. How can we figure out how to be consumed with our teammates, not consumed with yourself? I think when you start being consumed by your teammates, you have a much better team. When you get caught up in yourselves, you just have a lot of pitfalls. You have a lot of selfishness, and I think we've done a good job, at least culturally, talking a lot about the better the team is, the more awards we're going to win individually. And if you can focus on your teammates when things aren't going great, that's going to be really, really good for the team because, nobody's perfect, but how you handle things, nobody's going to forget how you handle things through adversity. So I just want to see us play off each other. I want to see Townsend Thomas, lead off with a laser in the gap. And I want to see Taylor Shumaker hit an opposite field home run. I want to see Keegan Rothrock strike somebody out and high five Jocelyn Erickson. That's what I love. I love watching the personalities of the game on our team just get out and go and know that, man, the game is the game. We've worked really hard to get to this point. And I'm looking forward to seeing Kendra Falby coaching first base, you
Oh,
know, getting after that part. So, and a lot of people will say, oh, well, what's Francesca's role? I told Francesca when she got here, I think this is year 3 now, you will coach everything. I'm grooming you to be a head coach. So she's in the bullpen now. Last year she was coaching first base. She's in the dugout. She does everything with me on the NIL front and scholarship building and all the other stuff. We leave the recruiting and the hitting game planning stuff with Eric Thomas, and Stephanie does the pitching stuff. But Francesca and I are doing all things management. And so she'll be in the dugout. She'll be helping me. She'll be doing sign cards. She'll be in the bullpen. She does it all now. So Kendra's going to coach first. And I'm looking forward to watching those personalities, get after it. And some of these guys are putting the Gator uniform on for the first time, and that's the good stuff for me. Is you never forget the first time you did it and do that stuff together.
sounds to me you're very happy with her development as a coach, after transitioning from the broadcast booth in there.
Yeah, no, I can't say that out loud, Eric. You got to keep her on her toes.
That's
man.
fair,
We gotta
fair,
keep her-
fair.
She's
Yeah.
doing a good job.
You're
She's
doing all right. Got to do
she's
better.
Hey, she's doing a better job of being a mom and a coach
Well,
and a
that's true.
wife. That's the hardest thing, and she's doing it. I'm proud. I'm really proud of her because it's not easy to do what we do and still, be available to your family. And then she's always available. So yeah, and all my coaches are. Stephanie had a daughter in the off season, and Francesca filled in that role. So absolutely, 1,000% proud of her for sure.
That's fantastic to hear that. That's awesome to hear that. That's Tim Walton, Florida Gator head coach, Hall of Famer, and D1 softball quarter century top 25 head coach, as mentioned named by D1 softball, as he learned on this episode. Coach, we've been doing this since 2018. Always a pleasure to catch up. I know we'll cross paths during the season, but thanks for always taking the time from your busy schedule and talking to us here on In the Circle.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Appreciate all you do for the Gators, but all you do for college softball as well. And then heck, it's not just college softball, youth softball, high school softball, travel softball. You do a great job of being able to give those kids something to look forward to. So appreciate you guys, and thanks so much for everything you do. Go Gators.